Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dylan, and today we get to talk about something that is very near and dear for both Matt and I. This is one of our most anticipated movies of the year. That is Poor Things. But before we dive into that, as always, please consider dropping down a like, a subscription, and a comment, because that just helps us out. We love to interact. All that being said, it is now time for some Poor Things. This trailer, it looks great.
Oh my god, Dylan. This looks like it's going to be my favorite movie of the year. This looks like an automatic contender for my top 50 of all time. Like,
Ooh.
Holy shit, this is giving me favorite movie energy. I'm gonna be an obnoxious person when this movie comes out.
I get why people don't like Yorgos Lanthimos, but I surely do. I mean, The Favorite was my favorite movie of that year. The Lobster was one of my favorites of that year. Killing of a Sacred Deer has its issues, but I still really like it, and I'm sure Poor Things will be at minimum like a top 10 movie for this year, unless something just completely goes off the rails.
I love The Lobster. I love The Killing of a Sacred Deer, partly because they're so beige looking. They're so bland to look at. It's just white walls. But I feel like it's so fitting to give him like a crazy, wild, wonderful world full of beautiful, bright, saturated colors. Dear God, man, this looks incredible. It reminds me a lot of, and I said this last time we talked about Poor Things, it reminds me a ton of the Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro films from the 1990s, like The City of Lost Children, Delicatessen. Gives me those vibes, which is why I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Oh my God. Just give it to me now. Mainline it into my fucking veins, dude. And that's outside of Oscars. It's no Oscar talk there.
Yeah, outside of Oscars, I can't wait for this. I mean, this isn't going to set the box office on fire, but I could see an angle where this puts up a really good, like, opening limited release weekend, and those per theater averages could be through the roof. But obviously, like most Yorgos movies, they're not going to make those big bucks. But you know what Yorgos did do with his last movie? He got himself a lot of Oscar nominations. In fact, I think it led that year in terms of Oscar nominations. So let's dive into category by category what Poor Things could do at this upcoming Oscars, starting off with the big two: Best Director, Best Picture. At this moment, I have it in for picture, but I do not have it in for director. What about you?
I should come into this with tempered expectations because I am so hyped for this, and maybe I should kind of divorce myself from my own hype and say, it's got a September release date. It looks really weird. And I have said that in the past, but I just have to predict this. I do. So I have it in picture. I don't have it in director because I don't think it has a shot at being top 5 in Best Picture. I think it's going to be too weird. I think the critical response might be a little bit mixed, but I think there's going to be a lot of passion around the people that do like it. But I don't expect this to be like a universally beloved thing like The Favorite. It looks too weird to be universally loved, but I do still think it's getting in Best Picture. And if it doesn't get in Best Picture, I think it's like Babylon. It'll be like number 11, number 12, right on the outside, where right until Oscar morning we think, could it happen? And then maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So I do have it in right now, but I can totally see a world where it flops.
I would say Sight Unseen, even if this does make Best Picture, it's probably would be one of those movies that's like borderline in a year of 10, like where it's like 7, 8, 9, but we're in a year of 10. Searchlight, they always get something, and Next Goal Wins doesn't look like it. Strangers, you said that you've read a little bit, and doesn't really seem like an Oscar thing. But you know what could be? Yorgos Lanthimos. I know he doesn't hit it every time, but hey, Lobster got a screenplay. Favorite got 10 nominations, so let's see what Poor Things can get. We both said picture, no director, but now that brings us to Best Actress. Emma Stone. I once upon a time said she was going to win. I don't feel that anymore. I'm kind of in between. Should be in my top 5, or is she right at number 6?
For me, she's outside of my top 5 because, like you were just saying, it's probably going to be one of the lower tier Best Picture contenders. If this was like a top tier Best Picture contender, she's in. It's possible that people see this performance and think she's swinging way too big with it. Some people are going to be annoyed by her performance in this. Just by the virtue of her playing a child in an adult's body, some people are going to see this performance and go, holy shit, I want to strangle her. That's just going to be people's reaction. Is that going to mean she did a great goddamn job with it? Yes. Was I cackling in the trailer when she smacked the guy in the face? Like, she just perfectly captures the essence of, like, a child, but she is a fully grown woman. So funny. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a polarizing performance. Even if the movie is really loved, some people are going to say, ooh, Emma Stone was doing too much there. And others are going to say she was doing just the right amount.
Using just some comparisons from last year, I feel like her floor is Margot Robbie in Babylon, where she hits some stuff, but she misses at the end of the day, and her ceiling could be like an Ana de Armas in Blonde, where she still gets her way into actress, even if this movie does miss picture. It's somewhere in between there. At minimum, I feel like she's got Comedy Golden Globe nomination in the bag.
Now let's talk supporting actor, because we've got 3 supporting actor contenders in here. We have Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, and Rami Youssef. Now, I'm just going to speak from the experience of I've read the book. I can tell you who these characters are so that y'all can make an educated decision on who, if anyone, you want to put in supporting actor. So the main character of the book is Rami Youssef. He is the POV character. He is the narrator of the book. And in that way, I think he's going to be a smaller character in the movie because he is not the character that does the most. He just is the one who's there the entire time. For me, that's a kind of role like Ben Whishaw in Women Talking, where it's an interesting role in the book, but on screen might not be as interesting as some of the others who are doing a lot more. For example, Willem Dafoe, he's also there for the entire book. He plays Godwin Baxter, the scientist who creates Bella. It looks like he's doing a lot. He's got a lot of makeup on his face. That could really help his case. With this performance, again, it's a role where I don't know how much he's going to be doing, how big the role is going to be. It might be a little bit more subdued, even though he's there a lot. I don't know if it's going to be a dynamic role in the way that Mark Ruffalo's will be. Mark Ruffalo plays Duncan Wedderburn in this. Duncan Wedderburn is a character that's only in the book for a couple of chapters. In the scope of, like, the timeline of the book, those 2 chapters are the majority of it. And since it looks like we're going to be following Emma Stone's character, Bella, on her journeys, it looks like a lot of the movie is going to be her time that she spends with Mark Ruffalo, while in the book that's a very short amount of time. Mark Ruffalo just looks like he's doing a lot here. His voice that he's put on is hilarious. He's doing an homage to Streetcar Named Desire by yelling, "Bella!" And, of course, there's the exaggerated, "Ow!" So good. I think he just looks like he's doing a lot with this. And his arc in the book is absolute lunacy. I won't spoil it at all, because if you haven't read the book, you should do that. And if you haven't seen the movie, which none of us have, I don't know what's going to be implemented. But his arc in the book is phenomenally hilarious. Where his character starts and ends because of Bella Baxter is ridiculous. I think he's going to be a riot, that he's going to be a scene stealer in this movie. So Mark Ruffalo is my supporting prediction, and I do have him in my top 5.
So you mentioned that this is based on a book, so that brings us to the adapted screenplay category, where, you know, that's kind of the tougher category this year. We have a lot of big hitters here, and at the moment, I do have Poor Things in my 5. I feel like because it's based on such a, you know, out there type of book, it's going to be kind of hard to adapt it, so if they're able to pull it off, that's some more brownie points that you can, you know, fight its way in there to number 5, number 4, and who knows, maybe it can pick up like a BAFTA or something and then could possibly contend for that number 1 spot once we get to Oscar night.
Oh yeah, and I mean, the screenplay here is written by Tony McNamara, who also wrote The Favorite and is the showrunner for The Great, which is a very acclaimed show with Elle Fanning, and he did Cruella and is going to be doing Cruella 2. Now, The Favorite is his 1 nomination there, but I think having Tony McNamara behind this, reuniting with Emma Stone and reuniting with Yorgos Lanthimos, I think we know that their styles work really well together. Plus, like you said, it's a very out there script, it's going to be a very wild story, and in the writing categories, a lot of the time, it feels like they tend to gravitate towards originality, specifically an original screenplay, less than adapted, but I don't think originality hurts at all when it comes to this category, because this is a very creative, very different, very unique take on this type of Victorian story. The screenplay is going to be great, so yes, I also have it in my top 5. Then we have the design elements. Let's start with cinematography. Oh god, oh my lord, gorgeous. Gorgeous. cinematography. The thing that I'm wondering, is this going to get nominated for everything that it could get nominated for? And if not, cinematography feels a little bit weaker there, because I do have a feeling that the gorgeousness of the design is going to be credited more to the production design and the costume design than it is to the cinematography. I don't know. I think this could be one of the shocking omissions on Oscar nomination morning, where cinematography doesn't happen for this movie, even though people love the cinematography of this. So I'm going to say it's not in my top 5, but it's almost there.
Yeah, I think I have at number 5 for me at the moment, but it's the one where if I had to push something out, obviously that's the one to go. I know The Favorite got in, but The Favorite had a lot of natural lighting from whether it was candles or the windows, and it doesn't seem like this one's doing that as much. I mean, there are some black and white shots, which we know the Academy loves those, but also The Favorite also had the use of like some wide angle lenses. I know there's some interesting lens use in this trailer. It just isn't be as full force as like the almost constant use of a wide angle in The Favorite. I'm kind of leaning on I want to push this out, but at the moment I want to see clips from some other stuff. The Favorite also got nominations in production design and costume design, where I think Poor Things at minimum will probably get these two, as well as one other category. That's if this movie is just like is not an above the line type player. I feel like at minimum it's getting some text.
The production design and costume design here is gorgeous. This should win production design just from the trailer. Just the trailer alone, give it an Oscar right there. The only thing is, like, it might be too weird for that. People might be, it might not be a win contender because people might be a little bit put off. But if it could be a win contender, if people aren't put off by how weird the production design is, this wins. This wins, but I'm not confident enough to have it as a winner yet, but I will say I have it for both production design and costume design. I don't think it can win costume design, but I do think it's a very strong nominee for that category.
The one category where I feel like this has the best shot to win, at least at this moment, is makeup and hairstyling, especially that work that's done on Willem Dafoe. I'm sure there'll be some other stuff throughout the movie. I know I have Dune Part 2 as my winner at the moment, but Poor Things isn't across-the-board type player. They may want to give it at least one award. This seems like the most likely on paper, at least to me.
Well, the thing with the makeup and hair is that, for the most part, it's just going to be Willem Dafoe's face. He's the only one that's going to be like a crazy creation, at least from the way that I read the book. But there are going to be brain surgery scenes in this movie, like very graphic brain surgery scenes. We know this is rated R for graphic like gore, so we're going to see brains in this movie, and that could be a great angle for best makeup and hair. It could also be a great angle for this movie being very, very divisive, because people don't want to see brains on screen. People don't like that in their movies. So I think makeup and hair is possible, but I don't know if I could see it being a win contender. Visual effects. Let's talk about this. I never thought that I would have said Poor Things for visual effects. I'm not going to put it in my top 5. I think it's worth considering for a short list, potentially, or just considering. There's flying cars in this, which it's set in Victorian Scotland. Why are there flying cars? There's all these bright visuals. It looks like there's a lot of like magic on screen. Maybe this is a visual effects contender.
I don't know if I'll put it in my 10, but if it makes that short list, it's something I would definitely keep an eye out for.
Let's talk about some categories that are very hard to tell about at the moment. Score, sound, and editing. We don't know anything about those from the trailer. I mean, we know a little bit from the score. It's kind of like they're using children's instruments to kind of build this score. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of a neat angle, but I think some people might find the score to be annoying. What I heard in the trailer, if that's the score, I would not put it in my top 5 for best score.
I really like the score that's been in both this trailer and the teaser trailer. I think it sounds very infectious. It's going to be something that's like drilled into your head.
Sound and editing, I'm gonna say sound is an absolute no. Editing is a maybe, but only if it's like a top 5 best picture contender. The way that The Favorite made it in. So I'm gonna say no for sound and editing. So that means that I have it in all the categories that you see below, and Dylan has it in all the categories that you see below. So let us know who you think is more correct here.
As we always do, we can't always be positive. We have to look on the negative side a little bit. So how could Poor Things fail? I mean, we've talked about it a lot, not just in this episode, but all season long. This movie is going to be weird. It's going to be out there. I mean, we just had Everything Everywhere win Best Picture, but not everything can be everything everywhere. September release date does not look great. The last Best Picture nominee to get in was Moneyball, and that was over 10 years ago. That's a long time. I know Searchlight doesn't have a lot on their plate. They had to get something in. We saw that with Nightmare Alley a few years ago, which was another kind of weird movie, but not as weird as this one.
When we talk about weird movies, I think the distinction we need to make is between wholesome weird and alienating weird. That's a big difference. Everything Everywhere All at Once was weird, but it was not alienating. It was a very inviting film. It made people embrace the weirdness, laugh at the weirdness, enjoy the weirdness, because it made them feel. Deep down, that's what the movie was. That's why it won. It made people feel. Movies like Poor Things, this is closer to Beau is Afraid. This is a movie that's going to make you feel really uncomfortable. It might make you feel wonderful, but at the same time, it might alienate you purposefully. And if that's the case, then some people might just react negatively in general to the aesthetic, to the tone, to the content being the brain of a child having like a sexual odyssey. That's basically what Poor Things is. That's how I describe it. So people might react very negatively to this. And like you said, the September release, I have faith in Searchlight. I don't see anything else that they have being a large contender. But I mean, a September release is not a good look. This is going to open during TIFF. The industry is going to be talking about other films in this movie's first week in theaters. That's not good. You know, when you release a movie, you want it to dominate the news cycle so that people are like, wow, Poor Things is great. But you know what's going to be trending on Twitter when Poor Things releases? Whatever just premiered at TIFF. The Holdovers, The Color Purple, fucking Next Goal Wins, probably. People are going to be talking about those on Twitter. Poor Things might get shoved to the side. On the other hand, releasing in September means that they're going to have carved out a window for themselves where they'll be able to say, no one else is releasing around here. We have a full month till the next Best Picture nominee comes out. Let's talk about Poor Things for a little bit right now. Maybe that's the angle here. I don't know. I hope Searchlight can do it. So let's talk ceiling and floor here. For a ceiling here, I think we have a 10 nomination ceiling. It's not going to get all of those. I'd say it's more likely to get 5 or 6. The floor, this could be completely blanked. But I'd like to believe that at the very least, it'll get costumes, production design, and makeup. But there is a universe where this gets absolutely nothing at all.
Right now, I'm probably in that 4 to 6 range. I don't know how much higher I can go there, but I can definitely see the angle to drop a little bit.
That brings us to the end of our trailer discussion, Poor Things talk right here. Are you guys as excited for Poor Things as we are? I cannot contain my enthusiasm for this movie. I will be there. Actually, I won't be there day one because it's releasing during TIFF. That sucks.
Womp womp.
That sucks. Man. Well, you'll see it before me, and I'll be a little jealous. Maybe I'll take a detour during TIFF to go see it. Probably not. But anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and this is Fantasy Filmball.